What's going on, guys? Welcome back. NFL commentary for you. Do me a favor, take a moment. Like button, subscribe button, criticism in the comment section, Twitter. Shutdown Safety is my username. DeAngelo Williams, man, I really do like DeAngelo Williams as a player, but I want to talk about what he did yesterday because personally I don't respect it at all. He put up a picture of his NFL notice of termination from the Carolina Panthers. We'll discuss it in a moment. I'll put it up on the screen. And he quoted it, "I am driven from within, but walking by this every morning absolutely adds fuel to the fire. Hashtag Motivation Monday." So for those not following along at home, DeAngelo was cut by the Panthers as their all-time leading rusher, mind you, March 10th of 2015. He had an injury-plagued 2014 season. He wasn't doing well prior to that, and the team needed to save about $2 million in salary cap. They checked a box in the termination agreement that said, in the judgment of the club, your skill or performance has been unsatisfactory as compared with that of other players competing for positions on the club's roster. And I hate to say it, but as bluntly worded as that may be, that was the truth. You know, we're talking about a guy that was not going to unseat Jonathan Stewart. As a matter of fact, he goes to Pittsburgh. He signs a 2-year, $4 million deal. Now, granted, it was like a couple days later, but that's far from, a blockbuster contract. And he was going to be their backup. He was not going to unseat Le'Veon Bell. The only reason he became the starter was because Le'Veon went down after he tore his MCL against Cincinnati. And he comes in and has an admirable end of the season. The same way you would really, in my opinion, expect most running backs to perform, coming in fairly fresh against defenses that have 9 games under their belt. He runs 907, yards, 11 touchdowns on 200 carries. Yes, it was his most productive season since 2000, I think probably 2009, but you have to keep in context that he was basically having much more of the workload than even when he did back then. So I don't understand what this is meant to achieve other than to show a termination notice. It's part of business in the NFL. Sure, they would have loved to keep you. It's not like you went to the Pittsburgh Steelers and made significantly more money than you would have. You were kind of right on the cap of what, they wanted to pay you, but just couldn't afford to. Now, the other ones, for those of you that don't take care to read it, you have failed to establish or maintain your excellent physical condition to the satisfaction of the club physician. So when Eddie Lacy gets cut, right? When Eddie Lacy gets cut and he goes on Nutrisystem or Jenny Craig or whoever and loses pounds upon pounds, he can put this up as a Motivation Monday. You have failed to make full and complete disclosure of your physical or mental condition during a physical examination. So you mean to tell me, Adalius Thomas, you can put this up after you get your poop in a pile? You could have put this up a couple years ago when you had issues with the Patriots and didn't. Obviously, the one we went over with DeAngelo Williams. You have engaged in personal contact which, in the reasonable judgment of the club, adversely affects or reflects on the club. Johnny Manziel, when the Browns release you, and trust me, it's going to happen, you can put this up and maybe use it to help get a sponsorship at whatever clinic you're going to check yourself into because, in all seriousness, you need help. And then lastly, in the club's opinion, you are anticipated to make less of a contribution to the club's ability to compete on the playing field than another player or players whom the club intends to sign or attempt to sign or already on the roster of the club and for whom the club needs room. That is pretty brutal. That sounds like a practice squad signing. That I would give to Matt Jones, Jacksonville Jaguars. You never posted this, Matt. What is your problem? Even when you tried to come back, my friend. I don't know. I would love to know your guys' opinions on this. Stuff like this, the spiteful stuff, where you're hanging on to it and you're bitter when you probably shouldn't be. When everybody I've seen or read about in the Carolina Panthers organization respected and loved the contributions that DeAngelo Williams made to that franchise that will never be overlooked. To put it up because you had an average at-year closure to a season, it just seems out of place and totally out of context for me with DeAngelo Williams, which seems like usually a guy that's super down-to-earth, super respectful, and understands the business of the NFL. I'd love to know your opinions on this. Appreciate you checking out. I'll be back in the week with more content.